Hello ladies and gentlemen of YouTube. Time for another Metal Earth kit build. This time I'm traveling into another comic book realm. This time I'm putting together one of the Batman kits that's been recently released. This is the Batmobile from the Batman vs Superman movie. I'm going to give this one a start. I have all of the kits in line for me to do. So let's crack this open and see what's inside the Batmobile. We have two metal sheets, and of course the instructions. Looks like we only have one instruction. Let me double check. Yep. And this is the newer style, which is very nice. If we open up the instructions, we have page 1, kind of the introductory, got all the titles and such, line drawing of the kit. A little graphic talking about the lines and folds and tabs and slots, and a key or legend with pictures that tell you the blue circles, when you see those in the instructions, are you're meant to fold the tab over. The green triangle, you're meant to twist it. And then down here we have the two different sheets. Which one have I grabbed? Here we go. And it shows the different parts in the sheets and their associated numbers. And then you move to page 2 and begin the assembly flowchart, starting with number 1. Generally start with the part 1, 2, 3, 4, move forward. There's arrows to help show you along. A lot of times it's across and then down, across, down, across. Sometimes it'll kind of snake back and forth, so pay attention to the arrows, pay attention to the part numbers. And if you look back at the instructions, you'll notice, or back at the layout of the sheets, you'll notice that some parts are colored. These parts that are colored are typically identical, and they've done this. They didn't used to do this, and I'm glad they've changed. Sometimes you have, especially with, you know, left tire, right tire, left arm, right arm, you have some parts that are the same. And so you have 2, sometimes 4 parts that are identical, and this helps to single them out so that you can find them faster. And they just number 1. Like this is number 22. That's not numbered, but it's the same color. It looks the same. That's also 22. Moving back to page 1, we get to the bottom here, 22. Flip it over. Page 3. There's 23, 24, and so on. And then you get to the bottom and slide over to page 4 and continue. Tools that I use: pliers. Pliers are very good. Long needle nose pliers are excellent for a great many things. Flat nose pliers are great for certain bends, and it's essential to have some sort of clippers to be able to easily and cleanly remove the parts from the sheets. Tweezers are very helpful. They're very small and easy to manage. They're great for holding on to small parts, great for making small bends, great for twisting and bending some of the tabs. I like to have an assortment of different kinds. I have a fairly normal set of tweezers, a thinner set, and a couple of sets with very pointed ends for getting into very small areas. There are many different things you can use to form the circles and curves of these kits. I have a very inexpensive drill bit set with a selection of different sizes to choose from. I have a couple of step mandrels that also have a selection of rounded sizes to choose from. I have a couple of dowel rods that have been sharpened on the end, which are great for shaping and forming cones. And I also find it very useful to have marbles and beads for making some of the rounder and dome shaped parts. We have our instructions in metal sheets. We have some tools. Let's get going.
I tried to fold up 3 pieces at once, but it did not want to go. It was much easier to take it one flap at a time, and probably safer. I really appreciate that they split the sides of part 3 into separate, smaller parts. If the sides were one long solid piece, it would be difficult to bend over both sides in such a small area without warping something. I had taken one of the pointed tweezers and ground the end down a little, which makes it perfect to grab the tabs in tight areas like this and twist them. It can take a few tries to find the right size drill bit or dowel rod to shape a circular part. I do like to start with a larger one to more cleanly shape the curve and work my way smaller. The instructions are pretty specific as to what is left and which is right. The tread of the tire goes on a specific way. The instructions seem to indicate to put the tabs downward on most of part 15. With some of the tabs and slots, it is just not practical. Others it can be done, but in hindsight, it may not have been the best way to assemble the part. Later, I ran into the problem adding part 17, and I am left to wonder if that was in part because of the way I inserted the tabs. I had a lot of trouble getting part 18 attached and did not want to sit in its spot with all the tabs lined up. I ended up bending 17 a little bit to give room to add part 18 and then bent it back. In hindsight, that was not the way to do it. I should have spent more time pushing in the sides of 15 to make enough room. This is a very tight fit. I realized too late that I had forgotten part 21. I debated undoing some and trying to add it, but I was pretty sure I would end up breaking something. It might be easier for some to leave one side of part 19 open and attach the left and right assembly first and then close up 19. There is very little room to twist any tabs. I ended up bending them over instead. For the rear tires, I tried bending the tabs inwards so that they are hidden. I had not done that before and it turned out pretty well. That may have been partially due to their size. Pay attention to the direction of the tread and which side the wheel attaches. Also pay attention to the orientation of the tabs on the center piece of the wheel. It is important later. I had to remove and reattach one wheel myself. The back wheels were too bowed. I mostly corrected it by pushing part 15 underneath of part 18. The way I had assembled 18, it was on top and pushing outward. Because the slots here all sit on angles, I bent the two tabs on one side slightly to create a hook. It worked perfectly to sort of rock the piece into place. Piece 31 joins the two halves together. I found it best to get the bottom two tabs into place first, and then sort of pivot it up and slide the two tabs on the side into their slots one at a time. With the rear tire covers, I left the tabs on one side open so that I could fit it around the wheel. I closed the last two tabs up after attaching the part. I was not sure which way to bend the sort of corner pieces on part 42. I was not sure if the instructions were saying to bend the sides up or down. I first went down, but that did not make much sense. I stopped and looked up the 3D view online to figure out that it was supposed to bend up. I absolutely did not like the way the guns on the front folded. Folding down the sides and then turning around and making a 100-degree turn seemed a bit much. I had trouble with it and stopped at one point in fear that the metal would break. The one gun later did. Your experience will hopefully be better. This video has been edited down. I have not shown all the different attempts, adjustment, or retries of this build. I also clip out parts where I am studying the directions, searching for and clipping parts, and some repetitive steps. It may make it look like this kit came together easier than it did, but there is a lot of bending and adjusting of parts to make things fit. Work slowly, be patient, and take your time. It took a little bit of work and a small tool to get the plate in the front to line up with the slots. I had the most trouble getting the tabs along the sides to poke through their slots. They did not want to poke through all the way, and I had to work to bend the tips over as best I could. And there one gun fell off. For these last two pieces, one of them, I lined up the two tabs, twisted them, and then maneuvered the third into place and twisted it. For the other, I bent one of the tabs to the side a little, and all three of them lined up on the first shot.
Ladies and gentlemen, the newest Batmobile from the new movie, I believe, Superman versus Batman, or Batman versus Superman. In all honesty, this is not a favorite of mine. This Batmobile, in my opinion, and this is just an opinion, everyone can have their own, is silly. Some of the parts on it are just a bit ridiculous, in my opinion. The kit itself took longer than I expected. The instructions are short. There's only one piece of paper in there, which would kind of make you think there's not a lot to it, but really I spent a lot of time carefully going over and back over different areas, either in confusion, getting a part wrong because I misunderstood, or not quite knowing the best way to put this together. So I spent a lot of time just trying to figure it out, and that made it rather cumbersome. It looks nice, except for mine. A couple of problems that I had was one of the guns broke off, and like I said in the narration, I think it's a bit silly the way they have you bend the part down, then 90 degrees up again, and then out to the side, and if I tried it again, maybe I could get it the second time, but it just seemed to be a bit much. Another little problem is there's a piece missing off of it because that was just a simple oversight on my part, and I tried somewhat to go back and put it on, but I didn't want to fight with the twisted tabs too much because I wasn't sure which way they were twisted and I didn't want to break it. So I just moved on. It was a part that's kind of underneath and not all that visible. I just moved on. So all in all, it's a moderate to heavy difficulty kit. Definitely takes patience. I definitely suggest looking at the 360 view, because there's a couple of points in the instructions I wasn't sure which way they were telling me to go, because it's just difficult to do 3D picture in 2D and at an angle. I don't think there's any way around, or not an easy way around, the confusion that the arrows sometimes cause. I look forward to doing the next two Batmobiles. This one is just not a favorite of mine, which probably stains how I feel about the kit itself. Hopefully you found this helpful. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. I'll do what I can to answer them. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more Batman kits, and keep on keeping on.